Hey Justice, so I've got your test pulled up here and I will go through the ones you missed. I did already reset it, so I don't know if you've seen that yet or not, but here's the video. So for the first question, it's asking you to find a solution to the system. When you're looking for a solution to a system of equations, there are a couple of different methods. I think that elimination is the easiest. So for elimination, your goal here is to try to get one of these two equations to have the same coefficient but the opposite sign. So if we go, if we look at the first equation, it has a negative 3x, the bottom one also has a negative 3x. So let's multiply everything in the bottom by a negative 1. That's going to change the sign of everything in the equation. So we rewrite, we get negative 3x plus 3y equals negative 9. I haven't done anything to the first equation. The bottom equation, though, is now going to be a positive 3x, a negative y, and a negative 7. So now, if you add the equations up, you'll see that the x's are going to eliminate. Negative 3x plus 3x is 0x. So I'm not going to write any x's. You have 3y and you're subtracting y, so that leaves us with 2y. Negative 9 and negative 7 is negative 16. Now I have an equation with one variable, and if I solve for that variable, I get y equals negative 8. Now if we go over here to our answers, you can see that only one answer has negative 8, but I will show you how to get the x. If there were several ordered pairs here with negative 8, you would need to figure out how to find the x. And you do that by plugging this negative 8 back into either one of the equations from the original problem. So if we go back, the second one looks a little easier just because I don't see a coefficient here. So we go negative 3x plus, this is a negative 8, equals 7. Now I'm going to solve by, I'm actually going to rewrite this one more time. I like to write adding a negative as just subtraction. So now I add 8 to both sides. We get negative 3x equals 15. Divide both sides by negative 3. And then you see that you get x equals negative 5, and that is in fact the answer there, negative 5, negative 8. Okay, so oops. We'll go back to the mouse. Okay, number 3 is also again solving the system of equations. So here we have y equals 4x plus 6 and y equals 2x. This one does say to use substitution, and I didn't even check. If I go back real quick, I just want to see what that first, if it did say substitution or elimination. No, it just said find the solution. So substitution is a method for solving equations where you're plugging one piece in for another piece. Oops. So if two things are both equal to y, then you can set them equal to each other. So if 4x plus 6 equals y and 2x equals y, then I can set 4x plus 6 equal to 2x and solve the equation. So if I subtract 2x from both sides, this gives me 2x plus 6 equals 0. Subtract 6 to the other side, and I'm going to get 2x equals negative 6, divide by 2, and I get x equals negative 3. So now we look back over here, you see that negative 3 again is the only one down here that has the x as a negative 3. But if we were to plug this negative 3 back into either equation, let's just do the top one. 4 times negative 3 plus 6. So that would be negative 12 plus 6, which is negative 6. You can see then that's how you get that y value. Four asks you to find a solution. Again, so you can use substitution or elimination. When the variables are set up lined up underneath one another, substitution is usually easiest. And this one's actually already set up so that you can see the coefficient on the x's are already opposite, -2, +2. So if we just simply add these two equations together, -2x plus 2x, that's 0. 5y plus 2y, that's 7y. And 8 plus 6 is 14. So you get 7y equals 14. We divide both sides by 7, and we get y equals 2. And again, you can see there's only one ordered pair where y equaled 2. But if you needed to find x, you would take the y and plug it back into one of the original equations. So we'll just do the first one, -2x plus 5 times y, which is a 2, equals 8. So that's -2x plus 10 equals 8. Subtract 10 from both sides. You get -2x equals -2. Divide by -2, and you get x equals 1. Number 5 asks for an inequality that describes each graph. So a couple of things. First, it is a solid line, which means that our sign needs to be the sign that has the line under it, so either less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to. And they all have that, so you can't eliminate anything there. Next, I recognize this line has positive slope, so it can't be the last answer. That has negative slope, -2. I also notice that the inequality crosses the y-axis at -2, so it has to be -2, so it can't be this one. Now the question is it y is greater than or equal to, or is it y is less than or equal to? And as long as the inequality is solved for y, which means the y is by itself, then you can look at the shading. Here this shading, even though this line is slanted, hopefully you agree that this shading is above. So because it's shaded above, it's greater than. So when you're given the graph, these are actually kind of easy to figure out just through process of elimination. Here we want to use substitution. So substitution, again, you're taking two things that are equal to y and you're setting them equal to each other. So 2x minus 10 equals 4x minus 8. I'm going to subtract 2x to the other side. That's -10 equals 2x minus 8. This is really lagging today. I'm not sure why, so I apologize for that. Add 8 to both sides. And we get -2 equals 2x. Divide by 2. And you get -1 equals x. So again, only one answer where x is -1. But if you wanted to figure out what y is, you take the -1 and plug it back in for x in the original equation. So you have y equals 2 times -1 minus 10. 2 times -1 is -2, so -2 minus 10 is -12. Slope-intercept form on an inequality means you're just rearranging it so that the y is by itself. So the first thing you would do here would be add 6x to both sides. So that's going to give you 2y less than or equal to 6x plus 42. So we typically put the x in front of the constant that's in the back there. Remember, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. We're dealing with inequalities, so instead of an equal sign, you'll have the inequality symbol like you see here. Now we have to get rid of the 2 in front of the y. We do that by dividing everything by 2. Because we're dividing by a positive, we don't have to change our symbol, so it's still less than or equal to, and it's 3x plus 21. 13, we have another inequality. So if we look at some of the same things we did before, I like to look at the y-intercept. The slope of the line is positive, so slope is positive. So that's, all of these have positive slope of 3. The y-intercept though is down at -4, so that rules out this one and this one, which have the y-intercept of +4. So now the question again is it less than or greater than? And again, because you're shading above the line, kind of this up on top, then it's greater than. If the shading were down here below the line, then we would say less than or equal to. (14) again is another solution to the inequality. So you're taking the two things, they're equal. This is easiest to do with substitution because they're both set equal to y. Set them equal to each other. So negative 3x plus 8 equals negative 5x minus 2. And I'm going to do this at the same time. I'm going to add 5x to both sides, and I'm going to subtract 8 from both sides. I'm going to try to do that in one step. So hopefully you can follow what I'm doing there. So that cancels the 5x's out, this cancels the 8's, and you get 2x equals negative 10. Divide both sides by 2, and you get x equals negative 5. So again, there's one ordered pair that has an x that's negative 5. If you plug that negative 5 back into either equation, you should get positive 23. Slope-intercept form on number 15. First thing you're going to do is add 12x to both sides. Add 12x. So that's going to give you, and be really careful here with your signs, negative 2y is greater than or equal to 12x minus 42. So again, I'm squeezing that x term up in front of the negative 42. Divide everything by negative 2. Here's where you have to remember the rule for dividing inequalities, solving inequalities when you divide by a negative. Dividing by a negative is actually going to change this sign, and so you have to flip it to be less than or equal to, and that's again because of the negatives. So this is y is less than or equal to negative 6x, because we're dividing by negative, plus 21. So it looks like on yours you just forgot to flip the symbol. Oh no, remember to flip the symbol, but a negative 42 divided by a negative 2 is going to give you a positive 21. And I think that's the last one on the test. Let me just double check. Yep, so it has been reset, so go ahead and watch this video, and if you have any questions, shoot me an email.